friends, welcome back to
Wish You Love Podcast.
I'm Jasmine.
And I'm Marilyn.
And thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, follow, and like.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we have our questionnaire linked on our Instagram, so please make sure to submit questions if you have any topics that you want us to talk about, or if you have a question or just anything, please feel free to submit there.
And I would love if you guys would send funny stories because we would love to chuckle and laugh at it. So, yeah, if you guys even want to just send in funny stories just to be part of the pod, like totally open to sending it. But yes, so thank you so much for clicking on this episode. So we are going to just do a catch up because we haven't done a catch up, I think, for a month now. Since September. I can't believe we're in the second week of October, which is crazy. But this upcoming week, I'm going to Oogie Boogie, so that's pretty exciting.
How exciting.
Yeah. And
did you pick your costume already?
Yeah, I am going to be Padme. I was thinking maybe Ariel because I already had her costume and I've never worn it other than for a child's birthday party. But I was like, yeah, I think Padme. And I originally wanted her white outfit, but it won't come in on time. So I had to do the rainbow outfit, which I already wanted anyways. So I was like, I love all her outfits. But I just need to figure out how to tailor it because I'm really short. Yeah. So that's the problem. But how's life been going for you, Jasmine? How's work?
Pretty good.
Fiance life. Oh, your engagement party. We haven't talked about that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
If you're seeing me on video, I changed my hair.
Yes.
So I'll start there.
She's autumn ready.
Yes. I went darker, getting a little lighter with washes, but I went brown. Engagement party.
Yes. How was the engagement party? Like, how'd you feel? Like the stress, the not the stress? Like, what was going on in your head?
Yeah. So, I was so fortunate to celebrate my engagement this past month. And it was so beautiful. I would say it definitely gave me a prep of what the wedding's going to feel like. And it was so crazy because my mom was like, that was only 80 people. Like, your wedding's going to be double. And I was like, yeah. But it was really nice. I thought it was really fun to just have everyone that's so close to me and everyone so close to Angel in one room, and just get to experience just all our people in one room and celebrate our love. And I really felt the love and the just everyone's comments and the hugs and the posts and everything. I really just felt it, and I just felt so grateful for the whole experience. I haven't posted on my Instagram because we're still getting the photos in, but yeah, it was really beautiful. I just feel really excited and blessed, and just like I said, it gave me a good look and feel of what the wedding is going to feel like or look like. Yeah,
it was really, really fun going as a guest to go. And she had the cutest dress on. It was totally I love that. I mean, duh, but some people don't know their style yet, but Jasmine for sure does. And the fitting of her dress was just so Jasmine. And I love that it had a big bow in the back. That was my favorite part. It was so cute. And everything was just such nicely decorated. And the food was delicious. The cupcakes were delicious.
What did you eat?
I ate the pasta and mashed potatoes.
Okay. Cool.
And I think you guys had vegetables. I'm trying to remember.
Corn.
It was 3 things I had gotten. And then, of course, I got a cupcake. And she had gotten it from a small business. And it was really, really good.
Yeah, that's good. I know when I was getting the food, I was telling my mom, I was like, I have someone that doesn't eat meat. So we got to make sure.
Just one thing at least.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
And so she added the corn as well. She was like, I don't know if she'll have cheese. So.
Oh, yeah. I ate the corn.
Yeah. Yay.
Yeah, it was really good. And it was just really nice celebrating you. It was a hot day that day. It was extremely hot. Yeah. And you could literally see the sweat on my dress. It was that hot. And I'm not a sweater, so it was funny because Anthony came in sandals. He's like, I'm sorry, I can't. He's like, I don't care if it's horrible. I wear shorts and sandals.
He's so funny. Angel's like, I'm going to tease him and let him know. Please don't do that for the wedding.
Please. I literally told Anthony that. And I was telling him, like, what are you gonna do? They're gonna get married in the summer. Like, you have to wear shoes.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm gonna be barefoot. I'm like, ew. So yeah, you guys should have the talk with him because he doesn't listen to me.
Yeah.
So maybe like coming from you guys, like, he's, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, he wore straight up sandals.
That's
but
okay.
yeah, at least
It
it was,
makes
I mean, the
Anthony.
picture looks funny. Because he's like, it's just sandals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but it was really good. And I'm glad that you had a good time. It was funny because I remember, like, as it was going on, I was like, it's not really a party. It's more like a dinner.
Yeah.
Because I really tried.
It was a dinner. Yeah. I thought we were going to dance.
Yeah.
I was ready to dance, honestly.
Really?
Denise, too.
I just
I
tried.
thought we were going to dance.
I just tried to keep it really classy,
It was
simple.
classy.
And I think also the heat.
Yeah.
That part. Like, it
would have been a lot of body heat.
It was already hot. And we had AC. I can't imagine, like.
No, it was good inside.
Dancing.
It was good inside. It wasn't hot inside.
So, yeah. And then as people were, like, heading home, I was like, oh, it's the heat. It's just hot.
It was still hot outside. Even when it was dark.
Yeah.
I was like, what in the world? It felt like Palm Springs or something.
I know.
But it was really nice.
Thank
and I loved the room. The room was beautiful. And I love that. I don't know if you guys remember in one episode, but I told Jazmine that I feel like if she was any animal, she'd be a butterfly. And there was butterflies in the room. And I was like, oh my gosh, what are the odds of that?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, it was really beautiful. That is definitely the biggest life update. Yeah, now it's just wedding planning, guys.
Yeah.
I'm on to wedding planning. Yeah. So far, no stress.
Oh, good.
I don't know if it's because some people have been telling me, like, I think it's because you do it for a living. Yeah. That you're not stressed. It's kind of like I'm doing another job.
Okay.
And then other people are like, you're just a type A person. Like, you plan for a living. Like, you like to do events with your friends and like events with people. And so I'm like, so I'm like, hopefully, fingers crossed and praying that this continues because right now, no stress.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Amazing party. And yeah, it was definitely amazing dinner. It was an engagement dinner, I should say. Yeah. It was really
social.
Nice. Social. Yeah. And it was so nice to see Denise and she got engaged. Oh my God.
Yes.
I was with Anthony when I seen it. And of course it's at Hawaii. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful.
I was next to Angel and when he was like, oh my gosh. I was like, what? And he like showed me and I was like, oh. So
I love that.
I'm like,
I need you guys to like, I mean, you don't have to listen to me, but I've already thought this with my friends. Like I was talking to Brio, I'm like, oh my gosh, whenever I get engaged, like me and Rochelle are going to try on wedding dresses together. I don't even give a crap if she's not even getting engaged. Like I want pictures of my friends. So you guys should take some pictures together. Like both of you guys are engaged in the same time. Like what are the odds of that?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And Angel and I were on the phone and we were talking and he was like, I think this is going to be like the year where like everyone's gonna kind of get
we're at that
engaged.
time of our lives.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And he was like saying like Marilyn's probably gonna be next, Karen's gonna be next. Just really exciting time.
It's so exciting to celebrate your friends and as well celebrate your big life updates and accomplishments because it is an accomplishment because not everybody sadly can get into a committed relationship or have a healthy one where so I'm so happy for her as well.
Shout out to you, Denise.
Yeah,
if you're listening.
Shout out to
we
Denise.
love you.
Yeah, she was sitting next to me during the dinner and she was just obviously such a joy to be around. She's cool. But as for my life update, I had been stressed past tense. So I was stressed out because work had started and it was really hard to balance like work-life balance. And so honestly now I've been able to balance it well, but that was really what I was going through throughout September of like trying to balance like work and like not get anxiety or like get pretty much anxiety, like my heart beating fast. And literally after my class on Fridays, except for today, but usually after my class on Friday at 2:00, I'm like, all right, whatever I have to do for next week, you wait until Sunday afternoon, night, or Monday morning, usually Sunday though. But just having that balance of boundaries from work to, because there's always something to do, is what I found, is that there's always something to do on my to-do list. There's always somebody to email. There's always somebody to drop. There's always somebody to add. There's always somebody, like attendance. I have to do attendance twice. There's just always something to do. Lesson planning. And it could just be a lot. And so I feel like I finally grasped like balancing it all. But yeah, so my biggest life update is just literally grinding out work. That's really what it's been, is just being excited to, I mean, you guys already know the type of personality I am. I mean, when I go to work, I think of it as like, oh, like I'm getting money today. Like I'm not thinking like, I have to go to work. Like I think of it like exciting, like, oh, I get to do this today. I get to do that today. So yeah, because sometimes, I mean, if you focus on how many hours you are, what time you're going to get home, like 10 o'clock, it's exhausting. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so that's like my life update, is just balancing work and life. And I feel like I finally have done that. Yeah.
I love that. I think once you find that groove and that balance, then you're able to now add fun things to your plate.
Yeah.
New things to your plate. Mm-hmm. So that's exciting.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I agree. Yeah, just not being so hard on myself, because I tend to do that of like being an overachiever, which we're going to talk about today. Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about the book called The Gap and the Gain. So
which, by the way, Marilyn got me a copy.
Yeah, so it's a good book. So I got her a copy, and I got Anthony a copy, and I will get a few other friends. I'm trying to think of who else, because it was really that impactful for me. And there's so much within the book that I'm not going to cover today, but obviously I'm going to cover a part of it. So today we're going to talk about the gap and the gain. Okay, so I am going to share a quote with you. Remind me, if you're watching on YouTube, I will be looking at my book, because I have shared a lot of notes, and I will be reading a passage from this book that I thought was a really impactful story, and maybe a lot of us can relate to this person within the story. But first, the quote. So, reality measured backward. The future isn't a reality. It's a projection. And because it's not a reality, it can't be part of any real measurement of your progress. The only way to measure goals is backwards, against the past. Use the reality of where you currently are and measure backward from there to the reality of where you started. Okay, so obviously you might be thinking, what is the gap and what is the gain? I think the easiest way to think about it is the gap is the negative and the gain is the positive. And so what gravitated me towards this book was literally in the front and says, The High Achiever's Guide to Happiness, Confidence, and Success. And from this book, I have learned that high achievers are particularly prone to being in the gap. And so I was like, okay, what is the gap, right? So you're in the gap every time you measure yourself or a situation you're in against an ideal. If you focus on the gain, you'll be happy. In every circumstance you're in, you're either in the gap or in the gain, but you can't be in both at the same time. Being in the gap stops you from living within your own experience. It stops you from appreciating where you are, and it stops you from being happy. And something else I wanted to share is everything in life happens for you, not to you. Okay, so I wanted to read a passage from this book. So there are two characters in this, well, they're real people, but two people in this story. There's Edward, who is the main character, and then there's Chad, his job is to help people make money through investments, okay? So at that time, Edward was in his early 40s and had a multi-six-figure income with $2.5 million in cash to invest. He told Chad, if I can just get my investments portfolio to $5 million, then I'd finally feel secure financially and finally be able to relax. They set Edward's goal at $5 million. Edward followed the plan he and Chad had developed. He was adding money every year to his account accounts, and his investments were growing and compounding excellently. Within a few years, he passed his original goal of having $5 million in his investment portfolio, but once he got there, he still didn't feel secure. He was in the gap. He was worried about the future. I feel like I need $10 million to really feel safe and secure, he told Chad. With his great income and investment strategy, his portfolio eventually did grow beyond $10 million. And by 2019, his portfolio was up to $17 million, over 3 times his original financial freedom target. From an outside perspective, this man was more than living the American dream. He had grown to have a 7-figure income. He had a huge nest egg of compounding assets, and without question, he was a savvy and smart businessman. Yet, he never grew out of his gap mindset. He never learned how to appreciate his gains. He was never grateful or happy about his situation. He remained anxious and worried about the future. He continued to consume gap media that convinced him that the financial world was going to collapse and that he was going to lose all of his money. He requested a meeting with Chad. He wanted to abandon the planning and strategy that they had been successfully executing over the previous 16 years and go completely conservative into cash. His view of the future was pessimistic. He didn't anticipate any more future growth. Given that Edward was abandoning the plan and strategy Chad was providing and executing, it was clear that they were no longer aligned. They decided to go their separate ways. Edward sold off his investments and put all of his gap money into the bank, where it had sat since early 2019 when they had that conversation. At the writing of this book in mid-2021, the S&P index had grown over 68% in the 2 years Edward fearfully took his money out of the market. Edward couldn't escape the gap. Edward couldn't appreciate his gains. He was always trying to bridge a gap he believed was somewhere in the future. But the hard fact is that the gap was always deep inside himself. Eventually, his gap thinking became so extreme that he stopped believing in his future entirely. It's a sad tale, but even more sad is how common it is. You too may have fallen in the gap mindset. Maybe you too, like Thomas Jefferson and Edward, have continuously reserved happiness and success for your future, but never your present. If so, you will never find happiness. So I just wanted to share some gap mindsets that I know maybe all of us have had, and for sure I have had. So like a gap mindset would be to look at yourself and think of how not skinny you are and how I'll be happy when I'm finally skinny. No, be happy now and think of the gain. I look at the progress my body has made. Look at how much I've been doing with my body, how my body gets me from point A to point B. Another one that I've really thought about was the gap of when people would congratulate me on my success in the career that I'm in. I would say, "Oh, but I'm not full-time. I'm only part-time adjunct." I would diminish and I'll be happy when I'm full-time. I'm not there yet. You don't say congratulations. I'm just part-time. Rather than thinking in the gain mindset of it's not even a year out of my master's program and look at the colleges I'm teaching at and how many classes I have. And, reminding myself that it's never going to be enough if you keep comparing yourself to a future version of yourself. For example, like that full-time. Oh, I won't be financially secure till full-time. Oh, I won't be financially secure until I'm tenured full-time. Oh, I won't be financially secured until I work at that college full-time and tenured. It's just never gonna finish. And so having a gain mindset is realizing where I am financially now compared to October last year, which is way different, right? So comparing yourself, you can only compare yourself backwards rather than the future because the future isn't even real. We don't even know what's going to happen in the future. Another one is a gap mindset of you don't even own a home, right? Your parents did at your age though. I won't be happy until I'm married or until I have a home or until I move out, right? But gain mindset would be thinking, I have a home, I have a roof over my head, right? I'm in a loving relationship. And then another one that I had wrote is a gap mindset of thinking, I took too long to get my degree. But a gain mindset would be, wow, I got a master's at 25 and look at how far I have came, measuring back to myself years prior, not to in the future, like, oh, I should have gotten my doctorate at 26 or something like that. You know, you can't measure yourself against something that isn't tangible. It's not real. And the last example I want to give, and this one was a big one. I was in the gap mindset of this for so long. And I will say that this is probably the most difficult for me to be in the gain mindset, is messing up on my graduation speech. All right. I was so mad and I took that happiness away from myself. Literally, when I couldn't even enjoy really the rest of the graduation, I was that upset about of myself, of not even realizing the gain of that. I had a once in a lifetime experience. I had a one out of 1,000 students experience of being grateful and appreciative of how far I have came, not where I lacked. Mm-hmm. And so it's just, I think that this has been very impactful for me because in any situation, you can measure yourself between the gap and the gain. Where do I lie in this situation? And assess yourself and move forward. Because even like when you argue with your partner, you can think like, oh, you know, we're fighting again, or, oh, like he's mean or something like that, rather than thinking in a gain mindset, like, oh, we won't be happy until we never fight, or we won't be happy until, or even some people think that when they get married that they're just automatically gonna like be compatible. I don't freaking know. But the gain mindset would be, hey, we're learning a lot about each other, right? Because when you argue with somebody or when you dispute, that's what I like to call it. Anthony and I like legal disputes when we are debating against things, like I'm right or he's like I'm right or whatever, is that, hey, I'm learning what you like, I'm learning what you don't like, and you're learning what I like and what I don't like, and we're moving forward and becoming stronger rather than seeing it as like a negative and not learning from it. Something else I've learned before I want you to speak on this is that we have a lot of experiences in this life, but very little people actually learn from them. And so I love this mindset of just checking yourself. And yeah, so after that, I'm like, no, I need to be appreciative. I messed up. Yeah. And I was upset about it, but it shouldn't take away from my happiness of that moment.
No, that's really good. Thank you for sharing the book and the quote. If you guys want to get the book, Marilyn will, I'm sure, link it or put it in.
Giveaway.
Oh,
let's do a giveaway.
We could do a giveaway. All right, you heard it here. We'll be doing a giveaway with this book because I'm sure there's a lots to gain from this book, specifically with Marilyn's sharing today with the gap and the gain. As you were reading his story of the guy who was just really hungry and wouldn't get full, it made me think of a conversation that I had with my young adult ministry. And it was about how basically, and again, I'm so bad at remembering things and I don't know word for word, but it was something along the lines of like how as human beings, we naturally are always hungry and can never be fulfilled. And it was even the talk of like, when you sit down and you eat, or when you're like binge eating or overeating, like, are you sitting down to really think like, what's on my plate? What am I consuming? What am I putting in my body? Or are we just like naturally just yum, 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 like eating? And that is because we're never fulfilled, right? Like once you have sweet, you want the salty. And once you have the salty, you want the sweet. Or like sometimes, including me, guilty, I'll have a sweet and then I want a salty. And then I'm like, but I want sweet again. Like, you know, like I can't make up my mind. Like I'm not fulfilled and I'm not content with what I have, even though I'm full. Like I know, like I hate and I'm good. And so it really made me think of that. Like I was like, wow, like that is so crazy how 5 turned to 10, 10 turned to 17, 17, etc. Like, why not? Like, I think having hunger is so important because it is a good drive to strive for more and to be more and to just be better as a human being. But also, I feel like the gain is like sitting back to think like what's on my plate and like let me appreciate what's on my plate before I start adding more or like not thinking it's enough, right? And yeah, just never like it just made me think of that like connection, like let's just not stuff ourselves anymore and like really take the time to sit down and appreciate and look down on our plate before we can say, and can I get an extra this or can I add more of this? Like yeah, just being appreciative of that because I just think you're right. Like there's never going to be a sense of I'm content or I'm full if we live in that type of mindset.
Right.
And to be honest, I feel like it'll just get worse with time. Like it's truly just going to get worse and worse and worse. So really interesting, really made me think as well your examples of like, what are some gaps I have in my life? Like what am I always complaining about or not looking at the gain from it. And so I think this is a really good reflection. I think it's also good, like you said, in order to see the gain, you have to really sit down and reflect. And I think photos are a good example to like look back at photos or like your vision boards or your journals. Like I think this is definitely comes hand in hand with just taking the time to really reflect every single area of your life and identifying those gaps and looking for the gains in them. So yeah, that's my like take on it, my thoughts and where my brain is at right now.
No, yeah, really good. I like how you were like hungry. I always use that word too, like I'm hungry for whatever success or whatever. And yeah, I agree with you. I don't think the problem was him always striving for more. I don't think that's the problem at all. I think the problem was that even when he was succeeding in his head, he wasn't succeeding. Mm-hmm. That was the problem. It also, I didn't think there was anything wrong with him taking out his money and putting into the bank, even though 68%, he would have made so much freaking money. But you don't know that. Honestly, it's not predictable. And so even though the history showed that that guy knew what he was doing and had him in good hands, but I don't really blame him for taking it out. But I do blame him for never seeing, like, he's like, then I'll relax. Then I'll be okay. Then like, that is exhausting. Yeah. That's exhausting. And it's just, yeah, I think I used to be in the gap a lot. I will say one gap that was true, though, is I would always tell myself I won't be happy until I finish school. But that was true, though. Yeah. I really felt so happy after being done with school. But it is horrible to like think like that. Like you can't be happy at that moment. You can. Yeah. You have to find happiness where you are, not like where you want to be, you know. So
yeah, it's like when they always say like enjoy the journey, don't just focus on the destination, right? Yes. Like you want to really, I'm trying to think of like a really good example of this. I think you have one. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay, so Jasmine and I ran a 5K, and something that, like, as you guys know, I've ran many races before. It's something that's super important and the most impactful, and I've shared my marathon story with you guys before, is the actual race itself, not the finish line. Like, you don't talk about what you felt like after you were done or like what happened after. You talk about during. That is the main part, is during the race, not after when you get the medal, right? Yeah. So that one's just like perfect because we have experienced that together, and it's just a mental game, especially running. At least for me, it's so mental. And this is like with life, right? When you're like, running is a perfect like example of regular life, of like working towards something and you're just going. And it's just you by yourself. You're running your own race. You're just in your head. And yeah, it just depends on what are you saying to yourself? What kind of music are you playing? You know? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I thought of my gap and gain.
Oh, okay.
And it's funny because I just changed it to a gain recently. Okay. Yeah. So with work, I was our like end of year reviews are kind of around the corner. I say kind of because we're in October. These tend to happen in December. So we're talking like 2 months. We're 2 months out. And so a lot of the things that happen now, it's like a make or break. It'll kind of be like what we like write down and like what our managers will see so that we can then determine like what is the next step for me. Like, am I going to move up in the title? Am I going to move up with pay or, you know, et cetera? Like, what is that going to look like? And so it was funny because I remember thinking to myself, like, I need to make X amount more because I'm getting married. I'm going to move out. Like, I need to. And yes, although it is true, I do want and plan and hope that I can get that raise. I also took the time, and this is where the reflection part came in. Yeah. I had made a document on my laptop where I was putting, because for context, my job that I work at, I'm going to hit 4 years in January. And throughout these almost 4 years, I've done like over 3 different jobs. So I like decided to like document them just because I want to see like that journey and like kind of pull it up as like my work resume or work career page. And as I was thinking about this raise and like, okay, how I'm like around the corner, like I got to start thinking of that. I pulled that up only to see just how far I've like grown within the 3 years. Like you were talking, I started as a seasonal worker making like, I think minimum wage, if that, 15, or $16. I think even less, maybe even 14. And then just looking at like where I'm at now, I'm like, oh my gosh, like every single career position jump that I've been placed in or that I raised my hand for, it truly has made me like level up, level up, level up, level up. And so I changed it to, yes, I still am hungry for that like raise. And yes, I still want to try to like let my manager know and vouch for myself. And hopefully she'll see it too. Like I think I deserve it. But at the same time, it's also giving me that like, for my age and from where I'm at and for where the progress that I've made, I'm okay. Like where I'm at, like I'm gonna be okay. Like let me not so be unhappy, right? Just with, oh, I'm gonna be happy when I make this much, or like I'm not gonna do my work as hard because I'm not there. Right. Rather than this is where I'm at now. Look at my growth. Like let me use that as a gain, right? Yeah. Get into that gain mindset. So just thought about that right now.
That was an extremely perfect example of gap versus gain because you measured yourself against your past instead of just staying in the gap, instead of staying in the gap and measuring yourself against this future that's not even there. Yes. Right? Because and also looking at your track history, you've leveled up every year pretty much. Yeah. So it's like, well, why not next year? Yeah. Like, you know, just like that guy, he couldn't see like, hey, you've been leveling up he got a lot of money like every year. And he's like, oh, like so scared of that fear of like not.
I think this also kind of ties in with the faith over fear, right?
Oh, it always does.
Yeah.
Every conversation I have, I was talking about it yesterday.
Yeah, it's like the faith over fear.
Always,
like he had so much fear of what was to come next instead of just
having faith.
And like could have seen it continue to duplicate or make more. Yeah.
Yeah. In this book, they also talk about religion too and God and how even people will be in the gap of like, because, you know, you want to be a perfect Christian or like you want to always go to church every single Sunday or every single Thursday or whatever days you go and like always like measuring like perfect. And like, no, God says that you're perfect just the way you are. And he sees how much you try. He sees how much like he sees it all. And so like the gain mindset I had written down in my book is like gap mindset. My goal for myself is to finish the whole Bible. And so gap mindset would be, like look at how many I haven't finished yet. Like I need to get on it. Like dang, like, you know, beating myself up about it rather than gain is like, wow, I finished 15 books, you know, like, and just
let's enjoy the journey.
Why am I trying to rush?
Yeah. They always say specifically with like your religion, like, I know my really good friend and he's our priest, he always says religion is like a relationship, right? Like you don't want to rush a relationship or a friendship. Like you want to like enjoy the journey, make the memories, like really get to learn
enjoy it
from it. And so, yeah, like that is all right. You're don't be so focused on the destination, which is finishing it, but rather enjoy the journey
of doing
just
it.
reading a chapter once a month or once every 2 months, whatever the case is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes for everything. Like we've talked about work. I feel the same way of just like, I've said this in the last episode of like, I wanted full-time so bad. Now I'm like, it's okay whenever I get it. If I get it next year from now, if I get it next semester, if I get it in 2 years, 3 years, I've seen that like, hey, I'm okay as part-time, making good money. I'm fine. You know, so just having that like faith again, living in the gain of like realizing how far I've come and not how much I lack, you know, and just also, again, for those of you who are in relationships, don't think of where you lack in the relationship, think of where you gain, you know, how much have you grown with your partner, like how much you have learned from each other, and not just like, oh, he does this or he pisses me off when he does this or when she does that. Instead of like, think of how much like they have changed and how much you have changed and just bettered off of each other. And of course, if this is a healthy relationship.
Yes,
always disclaimer. Always disclaimer. But thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Gap and the Gain. And yes, stay tuned on our Instagram if you want to be part of our giveaway for this book. Stay tuned. The Gap and the Gain. It's a good book. It's a really good book. And even in the back, it's totally up our alley of journaling. It says, oh, you can't really see it with the lights, but it says write your gains. And so it just is really on what we're about, you know, of bettering yourself always.
Yeah, and the good thing is I'll definitely look into this and read it. And the good thing about Marilyn is that Marilyn will always be good at like letting me know, like, hey, you said this, or hey, remember when you did that? So hopefully my challenge to myself will be that I can read this so that come November, should be a good time, like about a month.
That's good.
Maybe I can take another learning from it. And that way, whoever is our winner and what gets this book, maybe you can then share, you know, something from it as well.
Yeah,
so kind of start, or if you have the book or you decide to buy the book, you can go from there. But yeah, other than that, I think it was a really good episode. I hope you guys enjoyed Marilyn's chat and topic with us today.
The Gap and the Gain.
Yes, take that with you. Share it with a friend if you think they need to hear this. And above all else,
we wish you love. Bye, friends.